Been having fun in the range with the Grinch, but a lot of you ask me questions all the time about the bows you see in the background. These are some of my, honestly, these are just relics to me. I don't save all my bows. I donate and give so many away. But these were some of my classics, some of my faves. So I just thought it'd be fun to show you this. And I've shot all bows. So yes, I'm in one camp, but I also appreciate every single thing that paved the way. So I'll take you to this. This was actually the first Conquest that I had. At the time, the max cam and the solo cams were the bomb. But this is a bow from, I'm gonna guess 97, 98, but you can see the grip that I had made for this back then. Very similar to what you see now, right? So pretty cool. I really wanted to minimize that grip back then and shot this grip that I made with Bondo and kind of honestly became just the natural feel of what I liked and loved this bow. It was so different for the time. Then came the Apex, and the Apex was a huge one for me. This thing was a game changer. If you were a Mathews person at the time, this thing was just like built for business. It's huge and clunky right now, but honestly, as a professional, this was kind of at the tail end of my pro career, was during this era. So I've saved a couple of these, and I was always a huge Apex person. A lot of people struggled with some of the tunes with the Apexes, but at the time I worked for Mathews. So I'm going to tell you, I had 3 bows. My 3 Apexes were all built. Back then, I pretty much did what we do now when we're using our adjustable shimming cams and stuff, but my Apexes, I had 3 of them. There was a small dog leg right here. No one ever noticed, but my risers, I actually shifted my grip left on my 3 bows. It came, on everyone else's, it was just a straight. I came up and I shifted over to fit my natural grip and got an absolute down the pipe tune. And honestly, my last year on the US team was with my 3 Apexes. My dark blue one was the one that I set several records with in field, and it was a dog legger. No one knew it at the time, but it was. Then comes, not the first Hoyt, but it was the second Hoyt. The first Hoyt is actually upstairs, which I never shot in competition. But then came the ones that I ended up really liking, which was the Ultra Elites with the cam and a half systems and 3,500 limbs. So this was a pretty cool setup for the time. And this was one of the first Hoyts I went in. I actually had a little history. My nickname for Sharon, I called her Kermie and I called her Blondie different times. So if you ever saw me with some of my first Hoyts, they were actually disassembled to machine in Kermie and Blondie, because there was 2 years where we were living in separate countries and having to do a lot of time away from each other and then time together. Next one, this one was probably one of my favorite Hoyts in the field at that time. When I went to the Pro Elite with 3000s and the spirals, I loved this bow, but I did have to drop weight. So I was actually shooting 5 pounds less with the spirals than I was with the cam and a halves. I loved how these felt, but they were just too demanding for me at the max legal weight. So I actually shot them 5 pounds lighter and got along pretty good with them. some parts have been robbed off these babies. Now, this was a huge one. When Hoyt came out with the Alpha Max, this thing was just like the first parallel limb bow. And there's two things I remember to this. This particular bow here, I actually, I ended up setting the 70-meter record at the Biter facility in Germany with this bow set up on aluminum arrows. I honestly was doing just some test work for the guys, the engineers. I was doing some shooting and just getting a lot of reps in. So I ended up just putting some larger diameter arrows through here, kind of just like what I'm doing with Grinch right now, just shooting indoor arrows through a hunting setup, and ended up taking this setup to the Biter facility and ended up shooting the 70-meter record with that. So I kept it for that purpose. And then this just ended up being such a different Hoyt once they widened that limb pocket truss right there, and when they went to the parallel limbs, it just kind of created a whole new era for Hoyt. So I keep that one. And then honestly, this Prevail right here was one of my best indoor bows. So once I had stopped competing and I was just shooting for me, this thing shot so dang good that I actually, for the most part, kept it all together. I mean, some of the plastics rotted by now, but I kept this thing together because I told myself if I ever literally had to buy all my own archery equipment top to bottom, or if I ever lost every single thing I had and I could only choose one, that this was going to be the one. That's why I left it set up. Don't know if that would still be the case now, but that Prevail was a favorite for mine. Citation, I didn't totally get along with the cams, if I'm honest, but I did like the feel of it. And then, of course, the Levitate that all of you remember has to go into the all-time archive. So the Levitate now sits there at the end, and this guy is the current one. But that's a look at the history and kind of what all those bows that you see. I like them as a reminder because it's kind of fun to see the little things, you know, a grip that, you know, whatever it was, 1997, started tailoring grips and changing the grips, and then, you know, shifting my grips incognito so no one would see them, and then just moving through the different generations of Hoyt and being able to take one of the hunting bows and, you know, shoot a awesome 70-meter score with that was pretty cool. So that's them. If you see them, there's the stories.